this chair is not like my dream chair, let's just be honest, and it looks pretty trash beyond repair. Hello everybody, I am back with another piece of trash from the street. I really wanted to take this one home for a few reasons. The first one being, I see so many pieces of furniture out on the street that are made of this like vinyl leather material, and they're usually going to waste because they started to crack or they're ripping. But I recently came across this company called Angelus that makes leather and vinyl paints, as well as like a fillable cream that's supposed to kind of repair cracks and rips. So I thought this would be the perfect piece to do it. It's totally ripping and cracking and it's in completely terrible condition. I really honestly don't know if at this stage I can do it, but I wanted to do this with you guys so we can see if it works, and if it does, you guys can do it at home and upgrade your furniture that you might have just thrown out. So let's jump in and see if this stuff actually works. So I've never done this before, and I think the best way to start is just clean this chair and make sure all the leaves and the dust and the gross grime from the street is off of this thing. So I'm just using a degreaser to get off as much as I can. Now that it's clean, you can tell that it was like really nice up here, and then this happened, and then this happened. And you guys, I'm honestly like really nervous. I don't know if I can do this. Like, look at this. I think I'm just gonna have to like sand all these pieces off and try to get it as flat as possible. So I think I'm just gonna use this piece of sandpaper that's 80 grit, which is pretty strong, and try to get off the most of this. I feel like a lot of it's just gonna come off. So let's cross our fingers that I can deal with what's left. Okay, so this is pretty smooth now, and I tried not to like take off any extra that I don't need to. So I'm just gonna do like the rest of it like here, 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 and here, and then on the back here, and then we'll check in. So this is starting to feel kind of scary because it feels like it's getting a lot worse, but I'm hoping that it's getting worse to get better. I really do feel like most of the little loose pieces are off, and it feels like really smooth. There's not any kind of loose, it looks loose. This is just extra dust from when I was sanding. I need to like spray it down and clean it, but it's pretty smooth. I'm gonna clean it, see how it feels, and then we'll go to the next step. But I guess like worst case scenario, if this doesn't work out, I can just put this thing back on the street and call it trash, but I'm really determined right now to try to make it work. So let's jump into the next step. So there's no real instructions on the back except for that this works on vinyl or leather and that it dries flexibly so that it won't crack. So I'm just using this little palette knife and I'm going to just graze over all the cracks here so that it ends up drying smooth. The point here is to get like a smooth finish again so that if I was to paint over it, it wouldn't look as if there was ever any cracks. And I wasn't sure how far this would go, so I made sure to use the most of it. So I started with scraping off the excess on the lid. So hopefully I can get this done before it does. But right now I'm just only taking a little bit of this stuff. I was kind of worried that I might need to buy another one, like, because this is a really big piece, but this actually does spread quite a bit. And if I have excess here, I can just kind of like pull it up almost as if it's spackle or like icing a cake. And then you can just kind of put like the excess here and it goes pretty smoothly. And I think as long as it's going smooth, I'm kind of thinking it's going okay. So I'm just gonna keep doing this. Again, this is a total experiment. I've never done this before, so we shall see how it turns out. I spoke too soon. I'm almost out of this and I might need to buy another one. But note to you, if you want to do a project like this, you probably need 2 of these. managed to fill this entire thing, and I literally scraped every bit of that repair cream out of the jar because why not? I think I got a good first layer, and I'm hoping that maybe I don't need another jar, but I'm still gonna order one just in case. I can tell that I'm probably gonna have to sand some of this down with like 220 grit. Right now, this is like the first piece that I did, and it's feeling pretty smooth, to be honest. It's just a little bit dry. It's kind of crumbly. There's like a little crumbly pieces here, but I think that'll just come off with, you know, drying and sandpapering. So I'm gonna leave this to dry, and then maybe I'll take it inside and paint it. I'll report back and let you know in a couple hours. So luckily I brought this in like 5 minutes before it started pouring rain. So it's just been drying in the house. It's been about 2 hours and it's still kind of damp to the touch. So I'm just gonna leave it for the rest of the day and see how long it takes to actually dry. I don't wanna use like a heat gun or anything because I just wanna know like the natural dry time. So I'll let you know what that is once I know it. I was also lucky enough to talk to Angelus over the phone, and they're able to ship me like a new container of that filler. I'm thinking I probably need one more layer like right here, especially where it's extra crackly. So I think another layer will be great. And then I will check in with you tomorrow once we're ready to do another layer on this. So I let this dry overnight because it was still tacky like all throughout yesterday, and it's definitely dry now. It's feeling textured and like way more textured than this, obviously, and this could use definitely just another round of that filler. So I'm waiting for that to come in the mail. It should come soon. But what I'm thinking is maybe I just sand off all the rough parts and do a layer of paint on here. And if it's still rough and still needs filler, that's okay, because I'm probably gonna need a second coat of paint. And maybe we can just kind of like expedite the process that way, but we can just kind of see what happens because again, this is an experiment. I've never done this before. I found it to be really important while sanding to keep the sandpaper really flat, because the minute that it bends over, it'll actually start cutting into the fabric, and that's just gonna end up making more work for you. So once I sanded this entire chair down and wiped it again with some simple green, I'm now putting some of the paint in a container and actually using a foam roller because I just wanna have a really smooth finish. And foam rollers that are made for like cabinet doors or MDF are really fine and they don't have a lot of texture, so they leave a really smooth finish. When I tell you that I was absolutely floored and shocked watching this happen in front of my eyes, I truly was. Like, this is absolutely crazy that you can use a really affordable paint and you can really transform a trashed piece of vinyl or leather furniture. I'm just really impressed, and I absolutely love finding affordable ways to bring furniture back to life. I think there's just so much waste out there, and there's so many great pieces of furniture and really great solutions like this paint or feed and wax for wood furniture that can totally restore something and make it feel completely brand new. And when you're on a budget, it's really hard to find pieces that you really like. And so if you can find something that has good bones and kind of transform it into what you really want, even if it's not going to be perfect in the end, I still think it's satisfying and just as exciting as buying something brand new. Okay, so here is our first coat, and to be honest, this looks so good, like way better than I thought it would look. It's got that really nice kind of high-end matte black leather finish to it. I mean, here we've definitely got some texture, but like in the shade, it's not so much noticeable. And I'm still waiting for that other jar of filler to maybe like fill in some of these gaps, and then I'll just do it a lot more carefully so I don't have to sand as much. I think it looks really nice, and it's definitely better than like the brownish black that it was. So the bottle says that I should just let this dry for 24 hours, so I'll check in with you tomorrow. Okay, so I just got another container of the filler and I just did another layer here, which kind of killed me because I liked that it was finished, but it really wasn't. So I'm just like filling in some of these areas that still had like a lot of texture. I'm not really too worried about having texture. I just wanted to try another round. But I will say, if you do this, that you really got to be careful of things like this because there's a huge kind of glob here. It maybe doesn't look like that when you're doing it, but when it dries, it's going to be raised. So I am going to go in here with some sandpaper, like maybe 300 or something, just to lightly completely pull this down so I don't have to completely sand everything again. So I'll spare showing you the sanding and painting process again, but I just wanted to show you that if you have these little nooks and crannies, you can just use a sponge brush to get inside there. I wouldn't really shove the foam roller in there, but this really helped for getting into small spaces. And now that I've done the second round of filler and paint, I'm going to let this dry for another 24 hours. But in the meantime, I went on a walk last night and I actually found this near someone's trash can. It looks kind of like a failed DIY project. This looks like an IKEA like planter stand, and then I guess they were doing some kind of like gradient look here, and it's just glued to like a really thin like plywood round. So I thought I could also add this as a side table to the chair, and I have a few ideas. This is a cordless Ryobi multi-tool, and I absolutely love this thing, especially for projects like this when I need to sand in like a really awkward area. It would be really difficult to sand as much as I needed to without the power, so this is a really great tool to have these edges to get into really small spaces. Additionally, you can buy different grits of sandpaper for this, just like you could for a regular orbital sander. So for this one, I'm using 80 grit because the IKEA furniture tends to be really tough and it takes a lot to break through it. And then I'm just using my regular orbital sander to make sure to smooth out the edges, as this person's project was not really complete. And I also think this would be a really great project for you to do at home. I guess it looks like they just glued the planter stand to two really thin plywood rounds. So with this table right here, I really want it to feel mid-century and kind of like have a pop of color. But first I really wanted to add a stain to it to just give it that nice warm wood tone. And I think this will make the chair kind of feel a little bit more mid-century since it is black leather. So I always start staining with some pre-stains so that it doesn't look really blotchy once I put the regular stain on. So you just leave this on for about 5 minutes or so, and then you can start putting on your actual stain. Once my stain had dried in the middle section and on the top, I even stained the bottom as well. I covered it in frog painter's tape because I wanted to give the legs a pop of color. I think bringing in some really fun red might be cool. And just as a sneak peek, this is for my guest room / office makeover, so you're getting a little preview as to how I'm going to style this room. This is kind of the vibe I'm going for, so I'm really excited to show you what I've been coming up with. So that video should be coming out soon, but other than that, I'm not going to do an official outro because I've been feeling a little bit under the weather and don't want to be on camera, but let me show you what this all looks like in 3, 2, 1.